Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. So I am Alan, and I'm a student of the data science program. Currently in the final year. I'll be finishing my BS degree this April, and I have kind of pursued a lot of research projects throughout my undergrad education. And yeah, I'm here to kind of give you all an idea because I think I've gotten a lot of questions from people as to how to maybe pursue get such an opportunity and stuff like that on LinkedIn. But since I was a bit busy, I could not really reach out to everyone. But I think this is a great opportunity for me to connect with all of you all, and I look forward to doing that. So thanks for having me here, and thanks for coming. Sure, sure. Yeah. So I think the thing with research internships are in general that you get to really solve problems which are at the cutting edge, right, or on the bleeding edge of things, right? So generally, a technical internship is something which is very broad, right? So a technical internship may involve maybe just making some APIs for a website to architecting a system from scratch. So it could involve any one of these extremities and everything in the middle, right? So there's a lot of things in that. But when you come to a research internship, you're trying to solve a problem which is by definition hard, right? Because there are not many people who are actually looking into it. Because if it was solved, then not many people would work on it, right? So uh, you're not trying to solve something big as such, like get a breakthrough, but you're trying to always make some incremental progress, right? But the thing is that incremental progress is novel progress, right? Something which you will find not that easily available on the internet, and it would take you some originality of thinking and all of that, right? So that is where I think a lot of I think a lot of your skills as an engineer also kind of come into play, right? Because I think a lot of research in some sense is running a lot of experiments, right? You don't run. It's not about you sitting and reading something and suddenly you get some idea and something works out. It almost never happens in that way, right? It's a lot of running experiments. It's a lot of doing the dirty work, as they say, right? And doing it time after time till you kind of hit on something. So it's kind of breaking through a lot of walls rather than going to the correct place, right? So I think that is how I look at it. But I think the whole idea with research internships is that you get to work on a very high quality of problems, and especially if you do it at a good institute, you can see how the best people, like for example in IITs and all, how the professors over there they solve problems, how they structure their research, how they go about doing things, right? How they approach problems, and you can really pick a lot of these things, and these are kind of like very deep skills which not only benefit you and make you a better engineer, but also help you to maybe do new things and contribute back to society. So I think that's where a research internship kind of differentiates itself from a normal internship. Right? I think that's where a lot of value is added. So, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that I feel that engineering and research are not kind of opposites to each other. They are a spectrum in some sense, right? So research could be from either ends, right? It could be just publishing papers that mean theoretical work. And engineering could be just building things, right, which are already been built, but you're making a. Let's say, for example, you're let's say something like UPI, right? Making UPI is kind of a research engineering project, right? Because you have to design things from scratch. You have to design work. You need to design systems to handle so many million requests per second, and it's not as straightforward as we think it is. Like you have to have security measures to have proper authentication, make sure nobody at any point can abuse the system, and all of that. Right. So there's a lot of original thinking that goes into making something like UPI. But making something like a payment app, let's say Google Pay, Phone Pay, Bharat Pay, it's more of an engineering kind of a thing, right? This is at the other end of the spectrum, right? So where you kind of the apps are similar and they work in similar ways. It's just their user interface is a bit different, or their ways of giving rewards are a bit different. So there's not much of difference. You just use the app which is the most convenient to you, right? But do you use UPI? Yes, you use UPI as compared to card payments, right? Why? Because it's a breakthrough technology. It's not something very complicated. It's something very simple, but it has so much of an impact. Everybody here at IITM at least uses UPI for almost everything, right? And you can understand the value when you have to pay 12 rupees, right? You don't have to pay 15 rupees and get 3 rupees change, or you pay 20 rupees and get 8 rupees change, and all of those problems are just removed. You just pay 12 rupees directly, right? So all these things kind of come in that area. So it's a spectrum, right? So you need to choose where you are on the spectrum and where you want to be on that spectrum. I think that's a very important. Yeah. So for me, particularly, it was generally through cold mailing professors. Right? But even before that happened, right? I did my BTech in computer science in Pune, and I had already approached professors who were in my college, right? Like face to face before going and approaching anybody via cold emailing. So I think that helped me to get a base, right, of understanding what research is all about. Like I've not even read a research paper. I didn't even know what reading a research paper would be like. So I kind of, you can say, started off from there, and it was after I did a year and a half, or around I think only my the end of my second year that I of my undergrad there that I actually started to apply for research internships to IITs and all of that. So I had done a lot of, I would say, me personally, I had done a lot of groundwork in which I had done work there. I'd also worked for a network modeling team, right, in which I was in the innovation and research team. So that involved doing a lot of research and developing design, core design, right. That all helped me, get the base for things. But I do not think that anybody really needs that much of base to kind of start off with a research internship. I think the first thing to uh, obviously having a base would make it easier, but I don't think you should limit yourself by that, right? I think a lot of it is up to understanding which field you like, which is I think something which keeps on changing. For me, like I've gone through like so many fields to kind of understand, like kind of look at the scenery of things, like what happens in each field, and kind of understand what do I really like, right? So that you really understand. And see, you're not like it's not like it's kind of like a spectrum again, right? It's not like, oh, I only like this, I don't like anything else. You just understand what you like more in some sense, right? So once you get that understanding of what you like more and what you think aligns the best with you, I think you need to do a little bit of searching. But I think you can start off with things which sound interesting to you, right? So you do not need to have the prerequisites for it. So let's say you're interested in something like machine learning, something like that, right? You can obviously go and approach. I would say if it's your first time, you approach professors from India because that will be much more easier to get and it'll be a very good experience as well. I think professors from IITs and all, I think they're already taking. We have I know many BS students who are working with IIT professors here in IITM as well, and they're really doing very good work. Right? So I think so. Don't think that maybe good work only will happen abroad. Like a lot of good work happens in IITM or different IITs as well, right? So try to apply to them and try to maybe if they have a kind of an internship program, you could apply to that as well. But I think an internship program, the problem that comes with that is that it's generally a few set of professors and a few projects, right? Because see, you have to when people set up an internship program, they have to have an agenda behind it. Right? They have to have some kind of okay. So this is the amount of funding that we have for such a program. This is the number of people they're going to take. these are the projects that we are currently working on. These are the labs which these projects are in, which have some funding for computers, whatever, right? And these are the number of people you can accommodate. So there's a lot of more logistical aspects that need to be looked at when you look at it from a research, from a kind of in a kind of paid internship kind of a thing, right? Which comes through a program, kind of a research internship program, right? Not a research internship program, right? So I think when something like that happens, you lose a lot on the flexibility of reaching out to the professor that you want to reach out. Because what if that professor is not there? And it most usually happens like that. Right? So I think the best way to reach out to professors is to cold mail them and send them an email saying that why you found their work interesting, right? Maybe a one-line summary of what you liked about the work that do. Okay, your work in such and such area was very interesting to me. And then afterwards, you could just, if you've not done any previous research internships, you could mention your projects that you have done, right, and some relevant coursework, right. So that could really help you get your first opportunity, right. And once you get the first opportunity, it's like your momentum builds, right? Because for your next research internship, you can mention that you did work in this place, right? So the reason why I'm saying that start something locally if you can, or start something small, is that you can get the first opportunity fast, and if you can do good work there, then you can obviously it gives you even more momentum to apply to professors later on, right? And don't really bother a lot about the prerequisites. I don't think you need to have some amount of prerequisites that is there. But I think if you can do an online course, right, after you get accepted, let's say in a machine learning thing, and after let's say you do a small online course to quickly, get yourself up to speed as to what is happening, I think that should be good enough, right? But don't really think that you need a lot of information because you're anyways not going to have that information being an undergraduate student. Like I don't have a lot of information myself. Right? So don't really bother about that. You need to think about how is your work going to fit, and are you going to be a dedicated person, right? That is what is more important. Are you going to be a learner? Are you going to stick with the problem? Right? Are you going to be there even if nobody is paying you, right? Are you going to go through that process? Because at the end of the day, professors want that, right? See, because you need to see that how are they getting paid by having you there, right? They also have limited time, they also have limited resources, they also have limited people that they can work with. They also have their own targets that they need to meet, right? So how are you paying them back for whatever they're giving you, right? So the only way of doing that is people who are dedicated, who will work hard, who will stay for long, and we probably, if everything goes well, even publish papers, right? So that is the real kind of motivation for them. So you need to really sell yourself on that aspect as well. Say that you are going to do things like that, right? And your track record should kind of speak of that, right? So if you're able to make that pitch to the professor and the professor finds that and says that, hey, you know what, okay, this person looks promising to me, right? Then we will give you a shot at it, right? So I think that's how you should kind of go about doing things. And generally, the acceptance rates are actually very low for I think obvious reasons, right? It's not because your profile is bad. It's just because they have PhD students that apply. They have master's students that apply. They have their own courses that they have to teach. They have their own funding that they have to manage. There's so many things, right? The last thing that they would want is to take an undergraduate student who is willing to work, right? No, what you are doing is the right thing. You're not doing it with the wrong intentions. You want to work and you want to contribute back, but they look at it from how much of time I can give and how much of time I can meaningfully do. So that's why the acceptance rates are low, not because your profile is bad, right? So don't have that. Think about it in that way, saying that okay, I'm not getting any offers, so that means I'm not good enough. It's never anything like that. It's just about research fit uh, and if the professor has place, if that is there, then you should most probably land research. Yeah, absolutely. You should see. You should whatever you have done. I think the biggest takeaway should be that you should not doubt your profile. You need to, even if you have done something small, like I don't think it's up to you to judge whether that thing is big or small. That's up to the professor to judge. Something which you would have done, yeah, something which you would have done for the first time would have been completely good for you, so completely new for you. But and it may not make. Let's say I've built a small website, right? I did not know web development at all, but I learned web development and I built a small website, right? So that is something good. It's nothing bad. You should not say, okay, there are already great websites out there and I've just made a small website. So who will take me, right? If you have that mentality, what happens is that it kind of becomes something like a self-limiting thing, in which you are limiting yourself rather than the opportunities uh, being scarce, right? So it's like you are not kind of covering that much of area just because you think you cannot cover any area, and because you're not covering the area, you're missing out on opportunities, right? So that should not be the case, right? So you should keep trying, and you should believe in your profile. Whatever you have written, you should believe in that. Say, okay, proudly say that, okay, I've done one thing, but I've done one thing well, and that's about it, right? So if you still feel like I could make an great addition to your team, then you can take me, right? I'll be happy to contribute. So that should be your attitude, other than thinking, okay, I saw somebody else's profile who got accepted, and that person has 20 different things mentioned, and I have nothing mentioned. I don't think that that is a good idea to go about things. Obviously, you should try to do projects. You should try to do things. You should fundamentally be a good engineer or a scientist, right? You should try to solve problems. You should try to, somebody has some issue, somebody wants a website built, go and build it for them. Somebody wants some research problem to be solved, go and help them in that. I mean, I think a lot of professors in India, particularly, are very, very welcome. They want people to come and work with them, right? They are literally requesting, can you come and work with me on this project, right? But we are the ones who generally say, no, no, where do you want to work? And I want this, I want to apply to that company and this and that, whatever, right? But I think if we can kind of look at those opportunities of learning, look at those opportunities of contributing, I think we can very easily build a good profile, right? And very easily get into that thing of doing research, solving problems, and contributing. And then once you do that, I think things should be fine. Uh, sure. So for the thing at IIT Delhi, I think the thing was that I'd emailed this prof at the end of my second year, right? So yeah, so there is where I had emailed him, but again, it was just through cold mailing, and I already the projects that I had done were promising enough. So I think that's why he took me, right? And I think that was pretty straightforward, I would say, right? But the one for Carnegie Mellon, I would say, was that it it mostly was going through a lot of profiles and trying to apply to a lot of people. Right? Even I thought the same thing as what many people thought. Right? I don't have a good enough profile for Carnegie Mellon, and nobody would generally take me. But again, I want to reiterate back to that point, right? Of not limiting yourself on the basis of what you are thinking. The professor I applied to, I thought that okay, this guy is surely not going to take me, right? But it did not happen that way. That guy was the one who took me, right? So I think an important thing is that, right? So once the mindset is clear, I think the applications become like very simple. So I think there is a site known as CS Rankings, where you kind of csrankings.org or something like that, where you can actually go and see universities based on the professors who are working, what is the research output, what are the ranking of research output, and stuff like that. So I think it kind of looks at TBLP or Google Scholar citations and all of that. From there, it kind of extracts data and it kind of puts it in a CS rankings web page. So I think there you can get a good idea of the different professors who are working in. Either you can go to the institute website and look at professors, or you could go to csrankings.org and look at professors over there, right? Both of them are equally good enough, right? So once you do that, then again, as I said, right, drafting an email which involves try not to use. So I think some general tips and trivia I would say is try not to use the word internship anywhere, because sometimes uh, uh, no, I would actually say use the word internship. I mean, I leave it up to you, because sometimes what happens is that professors may put a spam filter on the word internship, may put a spam filter unintentionally also, right? That argument makes sense if that professor has already put a spam filter for internship, then why should we anyways apply, right? But sometimes it may happen inadvertently that an email may go into spam because they get a lot of emails, professors, right? So make sure you don't sound like an Airtel salesperson or something like that, right? Trying to sell your product or something like that. Right? I think if you don't do that, then I think your mail should go through. Also, one more thing I think I forgot to mention in the interview which was taken was that there's this thing known as Streak, which you can track your emails. It's a Google plugin. It's just a Chrome plugin, right? It's Streak, Streak, where you can actually see who has seen your emails. You cannot see the person who has seen, but you can see whether your email has been seen or not. Right. So if it was put in spam, it will kind of show an I with a slash, saying that it's not been seen yet. Right. Or if it has been seen, it will show you as a green eye that okay, this person has seen your email. So it gives you some kind of mental peace, saying okay, it's not gone to spam folder. Right? So I think that helps a bit. But I would say that after you kind of you put your kind of make a strong subject, right? Say you are a student from whatever is your background, right? Try to get the professor's attention in that one subject line, right? Don't say applying for internship any place. Nobody will open that, right? Say that I am a this student and this thing, and try to keep it to one line so that I'm looking for an opportunity to contribute at your group. Something like that. Student from here and here, looking at an opportunity I think Ankush Streak is CRM. Yeah, it's Streak CRM only. Yeah. So I think so once you write a good subject, then you can start kind of introducing yourself. So you say, uh, dear professor, use the professor's name. Don't say dear professor and leave it there. Right. So dear professor, what is the professor's name? Give a small introduction of yourself. Right. You can mention your CGPA and all if you want to. And then afterwards, in the second paragraph, you need to keep it to 3 to 4 paragraphs maximum, not very long. So, right? The first paragraph should be about a small introduction to yourself and why you're applying. Second paragraph, try to look at his publications and see what was some keywords which are very interesting to you. Your work in, let's say, data mining and e-commerce was very, very insightful. I would like to work with you to say. They don't expect you. Don't say I read 3 4 papers and I came up with this new idea. What do you think of it? And that is very pretentious, anyways, right? And even if you have done that, you have wasted a lot of time. Why? Because who knows, this professor may have an already full group, and you just wasted 3 days trying to read through everything, trying to understand and coming up with something, right? Which at the end of the day, he will not be able to take you. Why? Because his group is full or his commitments are already there. So don't make that mistake. I made that mistake a lot earlier, right? So don't make that mistake. You need to keep your emails somewhere between somewhere between mass mailing and somewhere between very personalized. Right? If you keep it at either these two ends, you will not succeed. You need to keep it somewhere in the middle. Like your email should have a template, but it should not be a mass email. It should be personalized for each professor. Like, for example, a good rule of thumb would be 80% of the email should be the same and 20% should be slightly different for each professor, including the name, everything, right? That all should be there, right? So once you finish introducing yourself in the first paragraph, the second paragraph you can kind of introduce, you can kind of say what part of his work was interesting to you and all of that. But you can also mention what projects that you have done, right? So I've worked on such and such projects, short, brief summaries, not anything in detail, right? And afterwards, the last, you need to give that person assurance that I can assure you that I am a good person. I will do this. I will look forward to a paper publication, and something like that, right? Which instills the fact that you're not just there for I want to do something and I want to do, right? You need to show genuine interest as well, right? And after that, then you can kind of conclude the email, right? So I think once you do this, it should be a good idea. And if you don't get a reply in a few days, you can send a follow-up email. Right? I would say rule of thumb is send 2 follow-up emails, and after that, don't really send, because if it's not seen after 2 follow-up emails, it means the professor does not have place on it. So you can send follow-up emails in a kind of span of 4 days or something. So if the professor has not replied in the first 4 days, you can send another email saying that I received a very interesting in the group. Please let me know what you think of the email I sent you. Right? If not, you can send another one but after that, don't send more. Right? So I think if you can follow something like this and try to reach out to a lot of professors, right? Don't get stuck on an institute or don't get stuck on one, because what happens sometimes is that institutes, as a general policy, don't take interns. It's a policy. It's not. It has nothing to do with you, right? So they only have they say that we'll only take interns through our summer fellowship program, right? So in that case, you can't even, no matter how much you try, how much you read, you're not going to get through, right? And you're going to waste a lot of time. I think people here are anyways very pressed for time. They're doing 2 degrees together, or they're doing their job and they're doing this degree. So I think you cannot afford to spend so much of time personalizing and doing that much of work, right? You need to keep it optimal for you and for the other person as well, right? So having that idea of that template thing, right, where you have 80% which is common and 20% that you change, right? I think that could really help a lot in, you could say, trying to reach out to many people as well, and also making it feel personalized, because that is your intention in some sense, right? To make it personalized as well. I think if you do this, I think we should get through. Also, maybe what could help is kind of give your resume as a Google Drive link, right? Because sometimes professors also have a PDF filter, right? They get emails and they get like useless attachments which they generally want not want to open up. Or maybe viruses also, but it's never. It's just generally spam emails. But if you send a Google Drive link, that does not get classified by the spam filter, right? So it unintentionally does not go into the spam box, right? So I think if you can take care of these things, I think things should be fine. Sure. Well, see, first of all, I do not really believe in this idea of buzzwords, because what is a buzzword today would not be a buzzword, right? Like for example, there's a lot of work happening in blockchain, for example. It is not that much of a buzzword now, but it will surely become a big buzzword in some time. A lot of work happening in cybersecurity, which would become a big buzzword in the coming time. There's a lot of thing working around architectures for machine learning. Like for example, if you look at Google, right, they have their TPU architecture, right? It's kind of an application specific integrated circuit, ASIC. Like you have application specific integrated circuits for even for, you can say, these crypto miners which are doing these mining problems, right, for cryptocurrency and all, right, which is again based on a blockchain kind of a network. So there are a lot of people who are doing work in all these things which are surely going to become the next buzzwords. Right? For example, now why is Nvidia the most valuable company or has so much of cash? Why they do work in architecture and machine and software both, right? They have released their CUDA library, and they have also worked on making GPUs, right? That's why they are number one right now, right? Anyone would have just said, okay, we'll just follow the buzzwords of, let's say, machine learning is doing well, so just do machine learning, not care about the architecture anymore, right? It wouldn't have happened, right? So now because people are getting paid and because Nvidia stocks are going high, Nvidia is becoming the buzzword. Okay, now we want to go to Nvidia, we don't want to go to Google or something like that, right? So I don't think that people should really blindly go by buzzwords. Obviously, buzzwords are great and buzzwords are cool and buzzwords pay a lot, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong in that at all, right? But you should not blindly go by buzzwords, right? You should also think about, could there be a buzzword which would come in the next 5 years or next 10 years, which is showing signs now, right? I think having that outlook also would help a lot, right? So I think these buzzwords are good, but I think at the end of the day, you need to really think about like, what you're interested in, what you can with your capabilities right now contribute. right? Because let's say that you want to do something in deep learning, but right now you have not even done machine learning. It'll become a bit hard, right, to do something in machine learning or deep learning without having the background. But if you can get something, let's say you are interested in graphs, right, and algorithms, you can maybe work with a professor that is working in graphs and algorithms, right? There's nothing wrong in that. Like, and working in algorithms in some sense lead you to making. If you understand how to make good algorithms, you can then later on, once you do MLT, MLP courses from here and deep learning courses, then why not? You can even make algorithms. You do not need to even wait for these courses to happen. You can do these courses on your own. But what I'm trying to say is that to contribute to some area, you'll have to have some prerequisites. So your work that you would take right now, the internship you take right now, would be a good function of how much you have right now and how much you can learn in the coming future, right? But that does not mean that that needs to be your final area of work. Just because right now I know graphs, that does not need to be that graph algorithms have to be my final area of work. Tomorrow, if I feel that I want to transition to machine learning, you can do a machine learning internship. You can get machine learning experience, use whatever graph knowledge you have, apply them to machine learning, right? So many applications, right? So I think don't try to even if you're going by buzzwords, make sure you take. One more thing is try to take courses and try to learn on your own. Don't wait for IITM to give the coursework through MLP. I made that mistake, right? I waited for MLT, MLP, and all of those MLF and all of those courses, and then I started looking into machine learning. Right? I think I should have either seen those lectures earlier or done that Andrew course, in which I would have already known a lot of the fundamentals, would have helped me contribute more. Right? So I think that should be a good approach to try to learn whatever you can, how much ever you can, right? And keep your mind open. I would say don't necessarily just blindly follow things. Try to think about what could come in the future, right? And how things could evolve, and then choose what you want to work on. And understand one thing, that what you're working on is not final, right? It's not that you can keep experimenting, you can keep seeing what you want, and you can keep working, right? I mean, people who have done their PhDs also have transitioned, right? Imagine they've done their PhD in, let's say, an area like databases, and now they've gone into NLP, right? But NLP has a strong connection to databases. Information retrieval has a strong connection with databases and the whole schema of things, right? So it helps them there, right? But they did their PhD. Imagine they did 7 years of research in databases, right? But that does not necessarily mean that the future of that work has to be your future. You see, your research and all will evolve with time. Generally, now if you look at, let's say, 20 years earlier, nobody had AI in their papers. Now, even a construction civil engineer professor also would have some AI in their papers, right? So these transitions will normally come, but don't make that the only goal, as because, for example, for a civil engineer, even making the structure would be important, right? If somebody just said AI all the time, they will not work on the structure, right? So don't try to only follow buzzwords. Try to see what you have right now and try to take a project in that, right? Try to contribute to that. See, the basic theme of research is the same, right? The basic theme of engineering is the same. It's just the application domain that changes, right? You have some preconditions. You have a problem. You have some resources. You have to solve that problem in the most optimal way possible. Right? And when you get the more and more experience on that, you can keep on solving problems, right? So you can keep on transitioning to areas. You need to be flexible, right? Don't kind of make yourself too rigid on saying, okay, I will only work on this, and if this is not there, I'm not going to work on anything else, right? It has been very surprising to me that I have said that I have also sometimes said that, okay, I don't want to work in this area. But when I actually looked at the work and spent some time, said, oh, okay, it's very interesting, right? So till you explore, you will not know. That's what I'm saying. Right? Try to explore, try to find out things, try to experiment, try to get started, right? That's what I would say. Don't wait for some perfect time. Okay, after 4 months I'm going to do this course. Next term I'm taking MLP, MLT, and all of that. After next term is done, I will start. Don't do that. Start right now. See what is there, and then have some kind of a kind of a top-down approach where you kind of say, okay, this is what I don't know. Okay, fine. Now let me learn this. Instead of saying I learn everything and then I'll go and do something, start with the problem. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, what do I need to know to solve this problem? Okay, something here, with something here, something here, something here, right? Then you kind of go in depth as to what you want to learn step by step. Because see, research is something that many people after being PhDs and they also don't know so many things. Right? So it's pretty much possible that, and it's obviously a thing that you will not know everything. That you need to know like where to go and how to go there. Right? For example, if you have to reach some point from point A to point B, you need to know at every intersection which road to take. And you will reach from point A to point B. You can do that, or you can study the entire map of India and memorize every road and say this road goes here, this road goes there, which will take you a good amount of time to do, right? And who knows, you may forget something in the middle and then you be completely clueless. You're getting that analogy that I'm trying to make, right? So that is what research, that is what science is in some sense. There's so many roads everywhere. You will not know every road, but you just need to know the roads which would get you from point A to point B. And if you can do that, that should be good. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fresher, try to begin in your college. If you're going to an offline college, try to begin there, right? But let's say if you're doing IITM as your only degree, then you could maybe try to apply for a TA-ship in which you can work with. I think course instructors over here are also doing some kind of research projects. They're publishing papers actually. The TAs over here, some of them they're actually working in projects and they're publishing papers, which I feel is a very good start for somebody who is not in the research or does not, let's say, have an offline college to go to. I think if you can get something, it would be really great, right? So I think try to look around you first and see what you can do and start building up from there. Is what I would say. I think in order to find out a research gap, I think, see, you as a student finding out a research gap would be hard, right? Because you yourself do not know that area. I'm not saying that I know any area. I would not be able to find a research gap. Right? A research gap can be only found at an undergrad level or a master's level as well by a experienced person who has seen the area for a long time, right? Sometimes what happens is that what is even published may be an exaggeration of the results which may actually be there, because see, people want to get publications through and all, and just because a certain method works does not necessarily mean it works for every condition, right? And you will not know that because obviously you don't have that knowledge, but a person who was in that area, who has read papers like that, who has worked in that area, will be able to give you that insight, right? So I think finding research gaps should always be done in consultation with a professor. Don't go and do it on your own because you do not know the state of the art. You do not know anything that has already happened. You do not know anything about anything. Right? You're just starting off. Right? So better to go with. That's why you need a mentor or a guide or a professor to guide you through. Right? So a professor could maybe suggest areas. You start off saying that okay, these are certain areas which people have not really worked in. What do you think about them? And you kind of look at them, say, okay, fine, I think I can do something here. The professor says, okay, fine, sounds like a good area. Let's see what you can do. Right? So that kind of guidance is important, right? So you know that you're heading in the right direction, right? And you're not kind of going in circles, which is very easy to do. Right? So I think that should help. Well, I never used any of social media. The only social media I used was email. I only got all opportunities through email, so I never really went through LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think LinkedIn is good for connecting with people in general. But if you want to kind of formally, uh, I would say if you are, I have never explored this myself, but I think LinkedIn is good for connecting to companies and all. If you have some person an employee in a company you want to connect with, I think LinkedIn could be useful for that. If you're applying for a research internship or something academic, I think something like a email should work better. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Alan. Jatin this side. First of all, thank you so much for these valuable insights from your side.
Sure.
And the question I want to ask is one of the most generic question all the speaker get asked, but still, the question is: if you were to get started from the scratch with the same expertise and experience whichever you are having right now, so which pathway you would take, and what would be the expertise and prerequisite you would make yourself ready before getting started into this field? I hope you got it.
Yeah, yeah, I got a question. So I think if I would get started in the same way as I expressed, right? I would get like go through the professors at my college and stuff like that. But I think if I would want to make a change somewhere, it is again I think trying to. So if you're applying to a certain area, right? Uh, Try to have some basic prerequisites in that area, right? For example, if you're applying for a machine learning internship, not having machine learning background, even the basic level, can hurt you, right? You need to know like what is machine learning, what is supervised learning, what is unsupervised learning. Right? If you don't know that, and you're jumping into a machine learning internship, you will end up getting very confused, right? So make sure you at least do some. That's why I'm saying that a mistake that I made, right, was uh, two things I would say. First of all, was not having a lot of this thing. Maybe not having enough prerequisites to start with. So all that I needed to do is just take a basic course, right? It was not even like know some crazy math and this and that. Nobody expects you to know that, but at least knowing how the field works, right? Having a good understanding of that and a good enough rigor. Like let's say you do some Anto-NG's course in machine learning, that should be good enough, right? Do the exercise and all that. If you're happy with that, that should be good enough. Right? But make sure you have some basic understanding. So when the professor is saying something, it's not like kind of not misinterpret or not understand what is being said, right? Someone says that okay, this is the learning rate of this function, what does it mean? It should not be like I don't know. If somebody says what is stochastic gradient descent, what is stochastic, okay, I don't know, right? It should not be in that case. You should have an understanding of what is learning rate, what is the loss function, like what does machine learning do, right? All these basic ideas, if you have a basic idea and understanding of that, you forget about the math. You need to know the math, but you need to have an intuitive understanding of how things are working. I think the best way to do it is just to do. There are a lot of courses online, right? There are a lot of courses online. I think, as I just remember right now, there is also an introduction to research course on NPTEL. Do have a look at it. It's amazing. I would say if you're getting started in research and you've not started anything, if you want to know how to do research, right? I think the introduction to research by Professor Pratap, I think it is. Uh, I think that is a very Professor Pratap and other professors at IIT, and I'm not very sure. But I think that is a very, very good course to start learning about research. I think that is a good head start there. But I think once you know that, that should be good. And I think another area which I made a mistake was I think you keep doubting your profile, you keep doubting yourself. Don't do that, right? Believe what you have is good enough, and then go and keep applying. I think I think that should be.
Hi, Alan.
I
You
see.
had mentioned that you had worked on a couple of projects before you applied for your IIT Delhi internship at the end of your second year. So, could you just elaborate on what was the nature and maybe the level of complexity of your past projects?
Yeah, sure. So I think I had before I applied to IIT Delhi, I had done like two major projects. Actually, they were not even related in like completely computer science-ish. But the thing which I had done was I was working with a professor in the biology domain. So what we were doing is we were working on galvanic skin response sensors and stress detection in humans through those sensors. So there are these kind of sensors which you can put in your hand and it kind of measures the. There's this theory that says that when you get stressed, right, your sweat glands in your palm get activated, like something which even you cannot see to that level. And these sensors are able to detect the change in conductance in your skin. So I worked in that area of looking at different signal analysis. Even I was new. This was my first research project, so it was more of a review kind of a thing, in which I kind of went about say seeing papers, seeing. This was the first time, right? So I didn't even know how to read research papers and all. But it involved around signal analysis, what you could do to better the device that what you could do to better these sensors, like the adhesion of the sensors to the skin. Like what are different approaches, what are different communication protocols this thing has been that these sensors can use in order to communicate to the, you can say, uh, the place which is actually extracting and storing that information, right? Because sensor will take some time series data and you have to kind of store it somewhere. Right? So what could be the communication protocol? How could you better process this time series data and find out signals and make inferences out of, let's say you have some conductance versus time graph of the sensor which is on your hand. How do you kind of make sense of it, and how do you say that is a person psychologically stressed or physiologically stressed? So physiological stress would involve something if he's running or doing an intensive activity. That's a different type of stress, right? And psychological stress is a different type of stress. So how can you kind of differentiate that while looking at signals? So that is one work I'd done. Another work I had done was I worked with an error modeling team. Right, as I said, I was working in this team called Skytop, which was in my college. So it was me and two seniors, which were there in the core design team, designed aircrafts for the Indian national and international competitions, in which my role was kind of obviously aircraft design, mechanical engineering kind of a thing, and also it involved a lot of like computer science. By the way, my base branch was computer science, but I went into mechanical engineering for the interest in that as well. But I did that, and a lot of I had to run a lot of simulations, write code for performance calculators, right? So there is this thing called as lifting line theory, in which I don't really remember now a lot of it, but you had to kind of it kind of looked at the wing shape and the aspect ratio of the wing of the aircraft, and kind of sets you kind of calculate the lift at every point and you can add them up in some sense. You get the lift that the wing would produce, right? So what would be the good? So we have to run iterations, right? So because if you have a constant wing area and you kind of make the wing of the wing more wide, right, then you have to reduce the length of the wing in some sense, right? So how do you look at all iterations and see at what iteration the lift is maximum? Right? So in some sense, you have to write a program which kind of solves all of that. Other kind of calculations and stuff like that. So I'd done research in all these areas, so I'd worked in these areas. I don't think that, apart from that, I just done like basic course projects and all that, just developed a database system in C++. It's very, very simple. It's not that hard at all. So I think that was about it. I had not done much. But yeah, I think when I started off, I had also done like the first foundation level, I would say, of computational thinking, basic courses. So yeah, I think that is what I had done. I do not recall doing this. Yeah.
That sounds like really pertinent issues that you worked on. I was going to ask you, what do you think was the it factor that sort of separated you from the other pool of applicants? So if you could just elaborate on that.
Um, um,
Was it just the complex nature of your projects that sort of, do you think, made you stand out?
I'm not really sure about that. I think I had already done. Um, I would say. See, I think what made me stand out is that I'd already started looking at research projects. I already knew how to do research, right? I knew the process of doing research. It's not like kind of completely new. I would say, like I wouldn't say like even many people from my class, hardly any of them had even read a research paper by the second year as well, right? So I think I was able to do all of those things, and I'd already started off like this biology thing which I told you about, right? I started it literally on day one of college, or day one, so it's the first week or something like that, in which I kind of approached a professor. I wanted to work in this area, something like that. So I had literally by the time I applied, I had like 2 years of knowing how to do research at least, right? And plus, I'd worked on these projects, so these were kind of real world projects in some sense, right? Where you could actually build stuff, did things, and all of that. So I think that is what maybe helped me, and maybe doing this IITM thing also would have maybe helped because yeah, I would say that would have also maybe looked good on my resume at that time, doing PhD from IT. So I think that would have been pretty much it. I don't think anything else would have maybe helped.
So starting early. So I feel like that's huge.
Starting early, I think you just need to be dedicated, and if you're dedicated, I think your track record will show it. And I think professors are pretty experienced at finding out that by just looking at your resume, looking at the things that you do, looking at the way you communicate, whatever, right? I think that it's there's no rubric, right? Okay, you do this, you do that, and then okay, it's just kind of a vibe. You just speak to someone, you look at the track record, and say, okay, fine, good fit or not a good fit. some that. Yeah. But just keep things honest, keep things genuine. Like just don't do things to impress other people. Like, don't do. Oh, I did. I was working in machine learning since day one. And I came to college, and the first day I read a book on linear regression. And don't be like that. Don't be that pretentious. Like if you say that, okay, I came in college on the first day and I saw that there was a small thing which was a door which was broken, and I asked someone for a screwdriver and I fixed it. I think that is a much more meaningful story. If I was a professor, I would probably take you, even if you didn't know anything about machine learning, rather than if you just read some linear regression textbook from day one. Right? So I think it's more about your intent, how authentic you are, and what drives you. Right? I think it's important.
Thanks, Allan.
Sure.
Hello,
Thank
Alan.
you, Ria, for this opportunity. Hello, Alan.
Hi,
I
man.
have a question of like there will be gap in some sort of research in any field that we may know. So how do we publish that research when we have conducted the experiment to related to the topic, and
So
what will
yeah,
be the
I
steps
think
needed for that?
I think so. As I said, right, don't try to approach. I mean, find a research gap in consultation with a professor, right? I think it is very important. Try to work with a professor on an area because they will know exactly what works. And sometimes you may try to solve the research gap with a method which already doesn't work, right? And only a professor who has already experienced that will say, okay, Baba, there's 10 methods. Out of them, we tried 7 already. So don't try any of these 7. Try these 3, right? So you can more accurately attack the problem in that. I think that should help. So yeah, I think discussing with the professor should be good.
Hello, Alan. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so my question was what should be preferred more, internship or research, or both?
I mean, by internship, do you mean the company or company-based internship where you work for?
Yeah, both company internship and university internship. Like in IIT Madras, we have the opportunity to become TA and then proceed with the research. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that is a good idea, right? So you can maybe do a PA-ship and proceed to research, or they are project positions directly, right? So I see some people are directly working on some people are making, if I remember correctly, some when I TA'd last year, I think some people were doing a dashboard. They were making some people were doing some analytics of marks in assignments versus CGPA, some correlation analysis they were doing, right? Something like that, right? But I think when you come to the TA route, right, you get access also to the professors directly because you are in campus A, and B is maybe the professor is also teaching the subject. Right? So they may already have research problems. So I think if you want to start out, that would be a good area. Right? And we have data science, right? So data science you can literally go do something in business analytics, do something in sports as well. Some people are doing masters in one of my friends is actually doing a masters in motorsport racing analytics kind of an area, which is pretty interesting to me. Right? There seems to be there is a university in UK that just focuses on that, right? And MotoGP and all the kind of they're the kind of the people they kind of do technology analysis for. Right? So something like that, right? So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that you can obviously go through a TA-ship road to get experience in code. But I would say if you see, I think an important thing is that even if you're doing a company, there's nothing wrong in doing company internship. Right? The thing is that if you're not learning anything doing the internship, then you are losing out. Right? You need to work in an area where you feel challenged, where you feel you're learning something new, and where you feel you're contributing something. Right? I think if you do that, I think it is anyways baseline going to be good. Right? The only thing with research internship is that you're trying to solve a hard problem and you're trying to do something new and you're trying to. It involves a lot of writing code here as well, a lot of running experiments. A lot of it is actually just doing things that other people have done, reproducing results and all of that. Right? So just a different nature of work. But and even an engineering thing, if let's say if you're designing a new system and all, it'll be great. But if you're just let's say adding a new text box in an application, and then you say that 1 week I've done that, and the rest 3 months of my internship I've just gone and had coffee near the coffee machine, then you are losing out. You may get paid, let's say 15 lakhs, but you have missed out, right? Other people who have done work for free, but have done and learned something new, people will take that. So I think you need to have that personal idea as to how can you learn the most, how can you contribute the most and work hard, right? I think that should be cool.
Also regarding the stress reduction project that you have done in college, like how did you encounter that opportunity to do it with your seniors? Was it a group project more importantly, or was it an individual project?
You mean the biology one? Stress
Yes, the
reduction.
biology one, yeah,
Oh yeah,
sorry.
so I had actually approached the professor saying that is IL working on some problems. I didn't even know like what he was working on. I just found his here he taught us biology for engineering. That was one of our foundation subjects. So through that I was very interested in bio-inspired engineering. Thought that can I work in some area. So he only said that we are working on this area. We have a small group of 3 people who would like to join. Then I joined there, right? So that's how I kind of got into with that group, but it was kind of like a group thing. But yeah, it was also individualized in some sense. So yeah,
So a tried and tested method is like to approach a professor, know about the problem statement and work on that, right?
yes, that is the best.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Sure. No, I have time. We can extend if you want. It will be better to answer questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, do you think there was, so once you're given a particular problem statement, is there any maybe methodology or the kind of thinking or an innovative approach that you applied, which you thought would like helped you gain more progress or like
Yeah, I think to answer that question, Maria, I think you should see the introduction to research. I think that actually I have learned a lot by just looking at that. Right, I would say that that course on NPTEL, right, it gives a very good base on how you should approach research, right? How you should do research. What is research? How to do it, right? I think how to think about, as you're saying, right? How do you think about how to approach problems, whatever, right? I think there's a whole, I think, 12-week course on that. A lot of, I can say, insights are in the first week itself. Right? Then afterwards you can go on to the other parts, which are like how to write, communicate scientifically, how to design experiments, all these different things. I think that could be very useful. But I think if you really want a professional advice on that, I think that NPTEL course on how introduction to research from IITM is actually very good.
uh, okay, thank you. Yeah.
I think Prithadeep, you have a question.
Yeah, I mean, not really a question. I just wanted to reaffirm your point about the research leadership. I think instructors do publish papers here, and student interns also do publish papers here. So that is a good way to get started into research. I just wanted to reaffirm that. I have first-hand experience of that, so that is actually the case here. And it
Sure,
started,
sure.
I think,
Do you have an
late
example?
2022, early 2023. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's which course? Just check right now. Is it this one? Yeah, I think it is most probably. Most probably. Maybe just put it in the chat. Maybe. Oops. Was it copied? Hold on. Yeah, so not copied. It should be good. I think it's somewhat. Or, yeah, I think that should be. Yeah, it's this course. It's this course, correct. Yeah. So you can have a look at it. It's in the archive. I can just give another link. Yeah. Okay. That should be. Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for everything. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, all of you all sticking around for so long. Yeah. So and all the very best, right, for everything. Same. Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you so much.